Yo, in tonight's video, we'll be looking at creepy and scary TikToks that you should not watch before bed.
Is actually
Whoa.
just nose that I take on
Oh, that's on
and off. It's on
screws?
magnets. I have
She got a
sneezed
magnetic
it off
nose.
once. Spiders and stuff to climb down there.
In 2012, 42-year-old Jane Hardman entered her house after a routine grocery store trip, and she was greeted by her pit bull, Cece. Cece then jumped up excitedly and bumped her nose into Jane's nose. Something seemingly innocent, but would ultimately cost Jane a portion of her entire face. The headbutt triggered an autoimmune disease to activate that Jane didn't even realize she had. And at first it only gave her a slight nosebleed, maybe just a quick bump, oh, it's just an accident. But over the next few days and weeks, it continued to swell and swell,
Whoa.
and it would continuously bleed and bleed. And so finally, she went to her general practitioner, and doctor after doctor could not figure out why this was happening to Jane. But finally, a specialist inspected her and realized this is something that would later go on to cost her her entire nose. It would decay and disintegrate right off of her face. Now, throughout this, her husband Martin would never leave her side during this living nightmare. He made her laugh, maintained the household, and loved her unconditionally, just trying to keep her spirits alive. This was all throughout her multiple surgeries until finally, 4 years later, she received a prosthetic nose that was modeled after a random woman she saw in public, and she really admired her nose, and the woman volunteered to let her nose be a model for what she would receive as her prosthetic. Now, this very prosthetic nose was held onto her face by magnets, and because of that, she even claimed that several times in public she sneezed her nose clean off of her face, and one time she made the mistake of going to bed without her nose being applied, and a spider crawled down her hole.
A child.
Yo, all of that from a nose, like all she did was get her nose hit by the nose of a dog. Not gonna lie, that video had me thinking that the pit bull bit her nose off. I was gonna say, ooh, but autoimmune disease, she turned into a ghoul. You know what I'm saying? Like, no nose. That's wild. I've never heard of this before. Anybody else ever seen that? Or you get hit in the nose and then your nose just disintegrates?
Carried out a copycat 9/11 attack, and I feel like no one knows about it. It was the 5th of January 2000.
Hey, the only thing different about this one is you could actually see the plane parts. Wow.
2002. In the aftermath of the horrific 9/11 attacks on America, people were on high alert for a copycat attack. High school student Charles J. Bishop was in fact one of those who wanted to recreate the horrific events of that day. He attended East Lake High School in Tarpon Springs, Florida. Now, the 15-year-old had been taking flying lessons. On the day in question, he was unfortunately left alone in a light aircraft. Taking his chance, Charles started the engine without permission and flew off in the plane. Terrifyingly, he flew towards the Bank of America Tower in downtown Tampa. Air traffic control were immediately notified, and they dispatched a helicopter to try and warn him to land the plane. Despite this, though, he was determined to carry out a horrific tragedy. He flew the plane straight into the building. The plane hit the 29th floor of the 42-story building. This killed Charles instantly. Now, thankfully, nobody else was killed in this incident, and the building remained structurally.
Imagine that. You think you finna go cause some damage. I'm finna drive this plane into this building and blow it up. I done seen it on TV. And then you go do it. The only thing blows up is yourself. Nobody else get hurt. Building's still intact. Man, that's messed up for him. I know he probably up there or down there or wherever he at thinking like, dang, I should have thought this one through.
Intact, apart from obviously some damage to one of the offices. Charles had left a self-unaliving note stating his support for certain groups and organisations, which I won't name on this app. I feel like you can probably guess who I'm referring to. We know very little about what caused Charles to want to do something so horrific. Bizarrely though, Charles's mum tried to sue the company that make Accutane. It's believed that the teenager was taking this for his acne. His mum blamed them for causing side effects such as depression, which she felt contributed to his actions that day.
How far would you go to achieve enlightenment? We know the Bacchus were sucking their own dicks for eternal wisdom, but would you mummify yourself while still alive? SokuShutu are a type of Buddhist mummy. In Japan, it refers to the practice of Buddhist monks pushing themselves to the point of death and entering mummification while alive. Now that's hardcore. The process for SokuShutu took about 3,000 days. It involved a strict diet called mokujiki. The monk abstained from any cereals and relied on pine needles, resins, and seeds found in the mountains, which would eliminate all fat in the body. The monks would slowly reduce, then stop liquid intake, thus dehydrating the body and shrinking all organs. Increasing rates of fasting and meditation would lead to starvation. The monks would die in a state of meditation known as jhana, while chanting a mantra about Buddha. Their body would become naturally preserved without the need of artificial preservation. The practitioners of SokuShutu did not view this practice as an act of unaliving themselves, but rather as a form of further enlightenment. Many of these SokuShutu mummies have been found in northern Japan and are estimated to be centuries old. Some texts suggest that hundreds of these cases are buried in and around the mountains of Japan. These mummies have been revered and venerated by followers of Buddhism.
Some people have described the island of Utoya as a piece of heaven on earth, or at least before July 22nd. Kids, typically around the ages of 14 and 20 years old, they're gonna gather for this multiple night stay on this heart-shaped island. All hell will break loose on the island. The kids just start running. Some of them have no idea why they're running, where they're running to, and some of them don't even know what they're running from. They just see people screaming and running, so they're running. Wait, what are we running from right now? The confused kids keep running and asking questions. What the hell is going on right now? Why are you running? Nobody would respond, but eventually they would all run past a body, bloodied, dead, on the ground. And now they knew what they're running from. Hello, this is the emergency operator. How can I help you? Please help us. We're on Utoya Island. There is a man walking around in a police uniform shooting at us. The line goes dead. The operator stares at his phone. What is wrong with kids these days? I mean, the youth, they really have no such thing as discipline. What a sick joke to make right after the Oslo bombing. He's about to turn to his coworker to rant about this kid doing a prank phone call when ring, 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 ring. Every single phone is lighting up and the calls are getting backed up. Every single phone call from Utoya Island. This was not a sick prank. This was far from that.
Fascinating facts you didn't know.
That's
In the
wild.
movie Forrest Gump, the girl on the school bus who refuses to let Forrest sit next to her is played by Elizabeth Hanks, the daughter of Tom Hanks. Winston Churchill's favorite wine was Pol Roger champagne, which he has established to have drank 42,000 bottles in his lifetime. And when he died in 1965, Pol Roger ordered black bordered labels to be placed on all their bottles in his honor. In 2011, Dr. Pepper 10's It's Not For Women ad campaign included cans for the drink that used gunmetal gray so that it would appeal to men. Despite this, about 40% of people at the time who tried it were women. Volcanic eruptions can actually cool the Earth's climate. When a volcano erupts, it releases sulfur dioxide, which converts to sulfuric acid in the atmosphere and forms fine sulfate aerosols. These aerosols reflect sunlight back into space, leading to temporary global cooling.
This death really reminds me of the horrific Murdoch boat case. 31-year-old Jerry McMeekin was living in Texas. She was a fun-loving woman who loved spending time with her family. She was a new mum and was out celebrating on the 4th of July this year on a boat. By all accounts, people were drinking and celebrating on the boat and just generally having fun. It's believed that the boat that she was on was being operated by her brother-in-law, Kyle McMeekin. The boats were on Lake Conroe at around 9 p.m. when tragedy struck. The boat Jerry was on collided with another boat that was being driven by Shane Aniboli, aged 44. Dispatchers got a panicked call to say that somebody had gone overboard and couldn't be located. Emergency services raced to the scene and, tragically, Jerry's body was discovered at 11:30 p.m. She was found near Scotts Ridge boat ramp. It was sadly too late to save her. Kyle and Shane have both been arrested and charged with boating while intoxicated.
I went to CIA.gov, and I'm going to read you this report. It's a document from the KGB in Russia. One of the CIA representatives referred to the case as a, quote, picture that makes one's blood freeze. A quiet, low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit. Someone unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes, end quote, emerged from it. The aliens came close together and then, quote, merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape, end quote. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who watched this phenomenon turned into ... stone poles.
What?
Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade were less exposed. Specialists assumed that the source of energy that is still unknown to...
I'm on the...
Medusa? Anybody? Yo, turned them straight to stone. I feel like there's some ancient technology, you know, that is around. And when you hear it in this mythology and things like that, it's probably some ancient real technology. Turned them to stone. No.
Second episode of this show, and it scared the shit out of me multiple times. My name's Rookie, I love horror, and I'm watching The Fall of the House of Usher. So I'm a bit late to the game with this one, but it was directed by Mike Flanagan, and I'm a huge fan of Mike Flanagan's work. When I watched the trailers to this, I didn't think it was going to be anywhere near as creepy as it has been so far. I'm only 2 episodes deep, but there have been 2 or 3 moments throughout the 2 episodes that I've watched that literally made me jump out of my skin. Mike Flanagan is the master at perfectly timed jump scares. I'm not a massive lover of the overuse of jump scares, but when they're used correctly, when they're placed correctly, they are very, very effective. And in the first 2 episodes alone, 3 of these jump scares completely scared me. This show is inspired by the works of Edgar Allan Poe, which I absolutely love because I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, and I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan. I can't wait to see where this show goes. It's not what I expected, and I'm absolutely loving it. But then again, I didn't expect not to, because Flanagan just doesn't drop the ball.
The Burning.
Not gonna lie, y'all, I thought that was a 493-minute movie. It's a show, though. So I might have to go check out the first episode. I was going to say, I ain't watching this movie ever.
Sun case. Messages showed people sharing videos of unconscious women dragged, and essayed. The receiving parties of these messages, they reacted to the videos as if they were watching a funny TikTok. They would text things like, I fed her sleeping pills and assaulted her in the back, then in the front, then in the back again, and then I finished. People were responding, ha 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 ha. Another chat log showed a picture of a sleeping woman, and the friends responded, who is it? Her body is so freaking good. Another chat included a video of an unconscious woman being essayed with the text, who wants to watch explicit videos tonight? JJY was part of these group chats. He's what they call a multiplayer in Korea. He's a singer-songwriter TV personality. He never left the chats. He was part of all the Burning Sun chats. He was part of every single Seungli chat about unconscious women, selling women, bidding women, and when his ex-girlfriend reported him for taking videos of her without her consent, and he would turn his phone in to the tech company, he would be the one to bring the whole operation down.
Wow.
February 26, 2019, the first round of messages are released to the public, and multiple celebrities would go down after the release. Some of the more notable sentences included JJY, idol, sentenced to 5 years in prison. Choi Jung-hyun, idol, sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. Brother of Girls' Generation Yuri, sentenced to 4 years in prison. Meanwhile, Seungli enlisted in the army, and he was able to have a military trial. He had 9 charges ranging from work, violent crimes, and then breaking food sanitation laws, occupational embezzlement, things like that. He was found guilty.
They said, hey, we want him. Let's bring him to the military. He one of the grimiest people out here.
Of all 9 charges, sentenced to 3 years in prison. He would have to file to be a offender, and he was fined almost $855,000. He appealed. He was given 1.5 years in prison instead of 3.
When a woman vanished from her apartment, Google Maps would reveal a horrific murder. Maribel Ramos was 36 years old when she vanished. She'd been a tomboy growing up, and she joined the US Army after high school. She was honorably discharged in 2008. When she moved back to America, she decided to move in with her mum in Orange County. She attended California State University to, ironically, study criminal justice. Sadly, her mum passed away in 2009, so she was left living alone. She wanted a roommate to cheer the place up and help her pay her bills. Unfortunately, this decision would end up being fatal. Maribel decided to advertise on Craigslist, which is kind of an American version of like eBay. Now, Casey Joy messaged Maribel and said that he was looking for someone to move in with. He said he was easygoing and he needed a place locally for his work.
Ladies, if you're looking for a roommate, would you choose a male to come move in with you just to pay the bills? It doesn't seem like a smart idea to me. That's all I'm saying.
Maribel and her sister met up with Casey to just suss him out and see what he was like. They both felt he was a very nice guy. They even felt a bit sorry for him, which was exacerbated when he moved in. They noticed he rarely left the apartment, so Maribel kind of took him under her wing and started doing like food shops and going on walks with him. She wanted to keep him company in the absence of him having any friends. However, Casey soon got the wrong end of the stick. He admitted to Maribel's sister that he was in love with Maribel. Now, her sister was alarmed and said, "I'm sorry, you've got it wrong. She's not really interested like that." When Maribel heard about this of her sister, she also tried to nip things in the bud with Casey. However, although at first he seemed to take the rejection quite well, things would take a very dark turn. He started to do things very out of character, including spending a hell of a lot of money on plastic surgery to make him look different. He was clearly obsessed with her and wanted to do anything to increase his chances. On the 3rd of May 2013, Maribel was due to attend a softball game but never showed up. Her loved ones tried and failed to get in contact with her, and when they turned up to her apartment, she wasn't there. Police were informed and they scoured CCTV of the local area. They spotted her on video at 7:15 the night before she vanished. Now, Casey was interestingly the last person to see her. He told police that night they'd had an argument, he left, went for a drive. When he came back to the apartment, she'd gone. Police then started looking into the records that they had for Casey. He was found to have a violent past, with his own sister even filing a restraining order against him. Interestingly, they also found a documented phone call from Maribel 12 days before her disappearance. This was a call to 911 in which she stated in a panic, "I'm just calling to let you guys know that if something happens that I did it because I was trying to defend myself." She told them on the call she was fearful of her roommate. They then worryingly discovered that Maribel had been trying to evict Casey from the property. He'd stopped paying towards the bills and it was just getting really awkward between the pair. Now, Maribel had been chatting to a man on a dating site called Paul Lopez. Paul actually offered to help Maribel out and helped to encourage Casey to leave the property. He said he would speak to him, which he did. However, his attempt was in vain. Now, Maribel was still missing. Casey, meanwhile, was trying to look like a grieving friend, but he was strangely not helping in the search for her. He also wasn't attending any of the candlelit vigils that they were holding in the local area to pay respects to her. Police started keeping an eye on him and seeing what he was up to. They noticed him attending a lot of internet cafes. They decided to have a look at the public computer that he was using. What they found was key to cracking the case. He was searching extremely suspicious things like how long does it take a body to decay. Now, by this point, they were following his every move and they were even tracking the computer that he was on and watched him go on Google Maps and search for a very specific tree. He zoomed into the location and then logged out. They knew they had to go to this tree. When they got to the location, they found Maribel's body. Casey had buried her in a shallow grave. Unfortunately, she had decomposed so much that they couldn't really determine her cause of death. They did, however, arrest Casey. He was found guilty of murder and given 15 years to life in prison.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. A new law in Illinois now requires family influencers to pay 15% of their earnings to their children featured in their content. So this bill states specifically that children under the age of 16 should receive 15% of an influencer's gross earnings if they appear in at least 30% of the monetized content. So, this law went into effect on July 1st, and it also states that children can actually take legal action against their parents if they were not properly paid.
Yo, parents, y'all ain't got no power out here no more. I'm just saying, parents really don't have no power, no say-so in nothing. You know, the government, the schools, They're the ones who control it. They control the choices. Look, they basically trying to tell your kids, like, look, challenge your parents. At the end of the day, I mean, I get it. You know, you don't want to work your kids on YouTube. That's for sure. Like, they do deserve something. But to, tell the kids, hey, take your mama to court, take your daddy to court. They gonna be thinking that already. Like, I'm gonna take they butts to court. They ain't buy me these shoes I wanted. Even though you might be giving them whatever they want, you really don't have control over your kids in the society. And then when you do try to put some control over your kids, it's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
New study has now revealed that people who go to bed after 1 a.m. are more likely to develop mental and behavioral conditions such as depression and anxiety. Okay. A Tesla driver shares how much 6 months of electric cost and how much money it saved him on fuel. For anybody that cares about gas cars versus electric cars, this is the grid if you want to look. For anybody that hasn't heard about this yet, there's going to be a double meteor shower happening literally this month in July. So this double meteor shower is going to be happening on the night of July the 30th. So if you want to watch it, you obviously want to make sure you go out and you don't forget about this. I'm actually going to be live streaming this entire event so we can all watch it together on TikTok. So make sure you add me so you can make sure you don't forget.
A church in South Carolina has gone viral recently, even widely talked about on the national news, and it all starts with a few very strange sermons. A younger looking pastor by the name of Pastor JP is on stage giving a sermon. He says, if you ever want to know what's going on in my life, it's always what I'm preaching about. God is so good to do that every single time. One day, I'm going to preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just kidding. I told you I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be here today. He holds both of his hands up like he's surrendering, and it's kind of the whole congregation laughs. But maybe it's a slightly uncomfortable laugh because there on his ring finger on his left hand is a wedding band. Pastor JP is talking about finding a hot wife that loves Jesus when he's already married to his wife, who is also very active in the church. It's weird. It's humiliating for his wife. It sounds like he wants a new wife. Honestly, that's what it sounds like. But that's not even what makes these sermon videos circulate all over mainstream media and on social media. It's not until a few weeks later, Pastor JP gives another sermon. Pastor JP is standing in front of his congregation where he says in this high-pitched, shaky voice, I got to lay next to her, spend time with her about 4 times this week, and each time it still didn't hit me.
I thought she was going to wake up, I even tried to raise her from the dead one time this week. And,
This sermon is from his wife's funeral after she was found dead in a national park. A sermon Pastor JP gives on how he tried to resurrect his wife from the dead because he couldn't believe it. But in that sermon, he fails to mention that she was in the process of separating from him. She had alleged that he groomed her since she was 15 years old, that he was allegedly having an affair with another woman from the church, and a long list of allegations of abuse that have been made against him. That was omitted from the sermon.
When 22-year-old Jayshawn Boyd entered a New Jersey gang unit cell block in a county jail, he did not last a full minute before 6 inmates swarmed him. They viciously beat him to the ground before a final stomp to the face left him unconscious on the concrete floor. But the nightmare was far from over. Footage captured inmates repeatedly slamming a wooden mop brush into his face until the object broke apart, along with a large microwave that was dropped onto his head multiple times, and even an industrial-size mop bucket.
Bro, where the guards at? See, them prison systems is different, man. I hope no one has to go there ever. I mean, unless you're just a crazy, very bad person, you know what I'm saying? But like, man, that right there, you go in there for one day, you might be getting out tomorrow. What if you was wrongly accused of something? You just have to go up in there, or you appealing something. Ain't no telling what could have happened. But that right there, that's wild.
That was slammed into his skull, leaving him in a pool of cleaning solution. Inmates continued the attack for 2.5 full minutes with no assistance from the guards ever intervening as they ran around the cell block and looked for more and more objects to drop on top of his head. Jayshawn Boyd was left in a coma while inmates Lockett, Watson, Jackson, Armour, Henry, Anderson, and Hutchins are awaiting court for attempted murder and rioting. It is still unknown why this attack occurred.
This
Shit, they already in prison, so you're gonna give them some more time so they could do it again. You know, the whole system is just, it's wild, Joe.
teacher, nicknamed Bunder Becky by students, has been put in prison for doing this with teenage boys. Rebecca Joins was a 30-year-old teacher at a school in Manchester. She was nicknamed Bunder Becky by her students. It's reported that she always laughed off the inappropriate comments and was quite flattered by the attention. She would later claim that loneliness made her do the terrible things that she did. She initially connected with some of the teenagers at school over Snapchat. She then lured one boy to meet her in secret. She took him on a shopping spree as seen on CCTV here and bought him a £350 Gucci belt. Now, after going round the shops at the Trafford Centre with him, she took him back to her flat in Salford Quays. Warning the student that no one had better find out, she engaged in an S relationship with the boy. Now, the boy's mum actually got suspicious when he returned home with a love bite on his neck. The boy's mum went to the school and reported her suspicions. Police actually got involved at this point, but meanwhile, Becky started meeting up with another student. Known simply as Boy B, the teenager began an S relationship with Becky, and what happened next would shock everyone. She made him a treasure hunt at her flat. She arranged rose petals and hid little notes around her flat for him to find. The treasure hunt ended in a final present, a baby grow stating best dad. She was pregnant with the teenager's baby. By now, police were involved, as I mentioned, and when she gave birth to the child, it was immediately taken off her. She was arrested for S activity with 2 children and was found guilty. She will spend 6.5 years in prison.
Yo, the messed up part about it at the end of the day, right? I mean, it's messed up for them young boys. But for that child that was just born as well. Now the child got a very young father and a mother who's not going to be there. They just take the child. The child gone now. Who knows who's raising that child at this point?
The man had attacked Kimmy in the alleyway, put her in a chokehold, dragged her into his apartment. Kimmy decides to just make a run for it. She books it, trying to get past him and head straight for the door, but he reaches out his arm, grabs her, slams her down, and drags her into the bedroom. He throws her onto the bed and starts forcibly undressing her. He's licking her all over her face and chest area, and every time he would get near her, she would fight hard. She's pushing him away, scratching him so hard that there are chunks of his skin lodged between her fingernails, but it's like he doesn't even care. He doesn't even feel it. The only thing he feels right now is the overwhelming sensation to urinate. He always had to urinate before he has intimate relations. So he walks over to the restroom. Kimmy lunges for the bedroom door, slams it shut and locks it. And now she starts looking for an escape route. So behind her, she's hearing slamming on the bedroom door and she just needs to hurry. But before she can even get a limb out the window, the door to the room slams open. She gets thrown onto the ground. The man punches her twice, then another 3 times in the face. She's screaming, apologizing, pleading with the man, but he's not listening. He's just slowly unrolling duct tape. He's tying her arms together and then her legs, and he ties her up with so much duct tape she cannot move. She's screaming the entire time, screaming for help, telling him that it hurts, he's hurting her, that she's sorry, she won't do it again, until the very last little sound, and he covers up her mouth. In moments like this, you think, if someone could just hear someone else's screams, like a neighbor, right? Or someone, that would change things, right? Mm-hmm. Well, someone does hear Kimmy scream. There is another person inside that room. There's 20 other people, to be exact, inside that room. What? In the corner of the messy bedroom, there's a small light. Kimmy's phone. She had kicked it to the corner when he broke in through the door. 20 people were on the line, on a phone call, listening to Kimmy getting assaulted.
저기요, 지금 성폭행 당하신다고요? 성폭행 당하고 계신다고요? 네네. 들어갈 때 다시 한 번만 알려줄래요?
This evil father married his teenage daughter and then he killed her. Stephen Plattle is literally a weirdo from day one in our story today. When he was in his 20s, he met 15-year-old Alyssa online. He lured her to meet her in person, which is illegal because she's 15 and he's in his 20s. And then he started a relationship with her, getting her pregnant. Alyssa was only 17 when she gave birth to her and Stephen's daughter, Katie, but Alyssa says that Stephen was really abusive towards their newborn daughter, and also she was struggling being a teen mom, so she made the really difficult decision to put Katie up for adoption. Katie lived an extremely normal and happy life with her adoptive parents, but when she graduated high school, she wanted to meet her biological parents, which is completely normal. But when Katie met her biological parents, Stephen and Alyssa, it led her life in a very disturbing and dark place. When Katie met her biological parents, Stephen and Alyssa, at first everything was great. Stephen and Alyssa were still together. They had an 11-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old daughter, so Katie had siblings. They were all getting together really great. So well, in fact, that Katie moved out with her adoptive parents and moved in with her biological parents. But within a few months, Katie would be pregnant. Eventually, Katie's biological mom, Alyssa, moved out of the home because honestly, her marriage was pretty rocky. It obviously had been for a while. And she was kind of suspicious about her husband's relationship with their daughter that had just come back into their lives. Alyssa was so suspicious, in fact, that she read her 11-year-old's diary, and what she found was shocking and disgusting. Alyssa's 11-year-old daughter's diary said that Katie was pregnant and that her dad got Katie pregnant. Stephen is 42 years old, and this is less than 1 year since she's reached out to meet her biological parents. The diary also said that Stephen wanted his other 2 younger daughters to call Katie, their big sister, their stepmom. Like, how confusing is that for children, a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old? They just met a big sister that they probably didn't even know they had, so it's already one huge change, and now this. This child literally wrote in her diary that she didn't understand how she could be Katie's daughter and her little sister at the same time. Just so sick and so sad. And imagine Alyssa reading this. Obviously, one, I'd be so mad that my 11-year-old daughter is getting involved in this disgusting mess, but your husband and your daughter, I would be physically ill. Like, I'm feeling sick right now saying it. Alyssa tried to report her husband, Stephen, to the police, but they didn't do anything about it for 8 months because of course they did. And in the meantime, Stephen married Katie, his daughter. She's 18. He's 42. This entire thing is happening less than 1 year since she reached out to meet her biological parents. It's foul, and not only did Stephen's family members attend his wedding to his teenage daughter, but Katie's adoptive parents attended the wedding as well, fully knowing who Stephen is to Katie. I cannot comprehend it at all. Shortly later, Katie gave birth to a baby boy named Bennett that would technically be her son and her brother and be Stephen's son and grandson. In 2018, Katie and Stephen were both arrested because this kind of a relationship is illegal. While awaiting trial, Katie kind of came to her senses and realized that she was being completely manipulated by this adult that she obviously wanted validation from. I mean, the entire thing is really sick. So she called up her dad and tried to break up with him. But Stephen is this sick, evil coward. Words cannot describe how vile this man is, and he couldn't allow Katie moving on, I guess. So he took the lives of baby Bennett, Katie, and Katie's adopted father, Anthony. And then he unalived himself. He's such a coward. This is a senseless tragedy. And for what? If you're going to unalive yourself, why the baby, Katie, and her adopted father, who has nothing to do with any of this? And Stephen has these 2 other daughters who honestly are probably so confused for so long about this situation and are still probably so confused. Truly, my thoughts are with them because I don't know how I could just like grow up, especially the 6-year-old and the 11-year-old who knew so much about what was going on. You guys are definitely gonna have to leave all your thoughts in the comments. I would also say questions, but I know this entire case is a huge question mark, but definitely leave your thoughts in the comments and also leave some case suggestions for me while you're there. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Creepy facts that will disturb you. Somehow the organs in your body know exactly what order that they're supposed to be in. So when surgeons perform their job, they don't typically reorganize them because they rearrange themselves correctly automatically. The chemical composition of human tissue is so similar to that of pigs that the average individual would not be able to tell the difference between pork and human in a blind taste test.
Oh, no, y'all. Did y'all just hear that? That the average person can't even tell the difference between human and pork? We are Porky the Pigs out here. What if you went to get some pork chops? What if them not pork chops? You know, sausage links, not sausage. It's a reason certain people don't eat pork, man.
We don't really know reality. We only know our perception of reality. For example, the sky isn't really blue. The gases in our atmosphere scatter the shorter wavelength frequencies of the visible light spectrum, that is, blue, indigo, and violet. Yet, we only see blue. The rest are still there, we just don't see it. Spiders are one of the most evolutionary advanced species on the planet. The more we kill them, the better they get at hiding. They can even convince us that we've killed them even when we haven't.
I want y'all to name one character bigger than this dude right here. Watch this. It's literally the biggest character in fiction, no debate. You can see the body forming, okay? Countless stars are composed in this body. It's absorbing everything in the observable universe, but watch, the body's still expanding. Look at that. On the planet, there's the head taking off, literally across every galaxy in the universe. But it's not done. You're about to see Demon Slayer has just dethroned every single anime. So the brand new Peak episode, which just dropped, has a 9.9 on IMDb with over 5,000 reviews and less than 2% 1-star and less than 2% 2-star. And the reason why it's dethroned every single anime is because every most popular anime does not have an episode higher than this. One Piece's highest episode, 1015, 9.7. Jujutsu Kaisen's highest episode, Sukuna vs. Maharaga, 9.6. Attack on Titan, yes, Attack on Titan's highest rated episode, Perfect Game, 9.8. Even his niche's Code Geass, the best conclusion in all of fiction, or one of the best conclusions in all of fiction, 9.8. This is not me trying to bring awareness to this to have people try and downvote it. I don't want that. I want this episode to get a perfect 10 because it was amazing. Do I think it was the best episode in all of anime? No. But I definitely want one episode at least in all of anime to have a perfect 10. We don't have one of those yet. But yeah, in my opinion, it definitely deserves a 9.9. Best episode in the entire series by far. The animation was a straight peak.
Remember the time
Shout out to
when
Demon
Germany
Slayer.
tried to wield the power of the sun? They tried to make it happen in World War II. In the early 1940s, this man, German physicist Hermann Oberth, came up with the plan of building an orbital space station with a giant mirror capable of reflecting the sun's light to incinerate cities and military targets on Earth. Planned to build a space station 5,100 miles above Earth. The station would have a huge reflector made out of metallic sodium, covering 3.5 square miles. They said that this reflector could, quote-unquote, could focus sunlight to boil an ocean or burn a city. Germans even went so far to set a budget of 3 million marks. That's roughly equivalent to billions of dollars today. Oberth calculated that it would take about 15 years to finish constructing the massive mirror. Building material would be brought up by rockets to be placed into orbit with the space station. Then they planned to send up a crew of engineers and scientists to kind of construct the reflector together. The whole thing would be connected with a bunch of satellites and rockets and a main space station. However, given how absolutely ridiculous the idea was at the time, considering that a lot of the technology they were claiming didn't exist, it never got off of the drawing board. Thank God.
The $1 million
Sure it didn't. That mug probably up there right now, burning stuff down.
question since the day she went missing is, where is she? She disappeared in a multi-million-dollar lab building with a multi-million-dollar ventilation system, several floors, several rooms, several locations. Where is she? In this one building, you have some of the world's leading scientists. I mean, the ones that are likely going to change the trajectory of modern medicine and how humans perceive and feel diseases. You have some of the world's brightest minds on campus, where students at Yale have an average IQ of around 125. In that specific building, you had the leads, the head investigators from New Haven Police Department, Connecticut State Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And all of this would come down to Max. Max is going to be the one to find Annie Lay. Max is a 90-pound German Shepherd, and Max is only trained to react to one thing: human remains. Past this bright blue door and into one of the metal door stalls, Max is like dragging them. They're following him, and then he just stops. He sits inside the middle of a bathroom stall. The investigators are looking at Max. I mean, his bottom is touching the ground. He's sitting. That's his signal. He's sitting and he's staring. But it doesn't make any sense. They look at Max and they look at what he's signaling at. He's staring directly at the wall. It's like kind of blends into the wall. It's almost the size of a computer screen. Like your laptop screen, maybe 8 to 10 inches wide at most. It's tiny. The officers carefully unlatch and open the door. And in between the water pipes, the yellow insulation foam, was the body of a brilliant Yale graduate student.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. A new study is now claiming that pizza is actually a healthier breakfast than most cereals. Okay.
He's saying, okay. Hey, but I agree with him, man. I don't know what's in cereal. Like, cereal got the biggest aisle in the grocery store. Hands down. It's either cereal or potato chips. They got a full aisle. Ain't nothing else in the grocery store got a full aisle. Maybe coffee. Coffee ain't even got a full aisle. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's in that stuff.
This Ohio billionaire is now planning a $20 million Titanic sub dive to prove that deep sea expeditions can be life-changing. Hello, Ohio billionaire. Did we not learn anything last time? Thank you. The popcorn buckets for the Deadpool and Wolverine movie have officially been revealed, and this is what they look like. I know y'all remember the Dune one. Hello. If you know anybody that likes to shop at Walmart, millions of Walmart customers could be eligible for a refund after major self-checkout error led retailer to overcharge. Basically, they're saying that this started on March the 19th of this year, and it lasted for a couple of days, so if you shopped at that point, they might owe you money. Walmart made an official statement and said that they did pay some people back, but not everyone. So that's very cute and classy. Thank you. If you haven't already heard about this, on June the 3rd, literally in 3 days, there's going to be a planet parade where you're going to be able to see all 6 of these planets in the sky with literally just your eyes, and it's going to be in the morning. If you don't want to forget about this, just make sure you add me and I'll give you a reminder. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
That the little girl will forever share her birthday with the date her mother died.
This is who you ruined her life. She will never know her mommy.
23-year-old Yesenia Aguilar was 8 months pregnant when this woman who was under the influence ran her over. Yesenia and her husband were walking together on the sidewalk when Courtney Pandolfi came out of nowhere and hit Yesenia. What's crazy is that this was Courtney's 5th DUI since 2008.
5th? I thought after 3 they take your license away and you just aren't able to drive anymore. Don't know if that's still the case.
Fortunately, after an emergency C-section, the baby survived. But the mother didn't, and the father, James Alvarez, says that it's been difficult accepting the fact that his wife died on the same day that his daughter was born.
Man, yeah, that is messed up, man. You know, some people share a birthday with their child. Never really think about sharing a D-Day with your child. It's messed up, man. But yeah, these are some of the most scary and creepy and strange TikToks that are out there. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, turn your notification bells on, and until next time, YouTube, peace.